Always a good time to talk college football, but especially here on a Monday to start out the work week. How about that? Hope you enjoyed the weekend. Hope you're off to a good start this week in June. The College Football Show is your destination. We appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. That is your responsibility. That's who you are. You are the ones that make it the best. So thank you so much for the comments there in the chat, the comments throughout the week. We have posted probably about 10 videos at this point previewing the college football season. Check out our predictions team by team. They include Clemson, Virginia Tech, North Carolina. Then we delved into the SEC, Ole Miss, LSU, Florida, Auburn. We've looked at Iowa and Washington, maybe a few others that I'm missing. South Carolina posted today, and USC is going to be posted here in a couple hours. So check out my prediction for USC, which, as I recall, last season I picked USC to go 7-5. I was hosting a USC show at the time and took a brutal beating from the USC fans who were appalled, offended, embarrassed, distressed. Certainly offended, very sensitive that I picked USC to lose 5 games in the Big Ten. How could that possibly be? To go 7-5. And they did better than that. They didn't do better than that, but in the loss column did better than that. So we will see about USC. Again, that video and prediction comes out later today. So we're marching through college football. We are predicting the records of all the teams, and we will put it all together sometime during the back half of August. Big 12 Media Days is in about 2 weeks, and then the SEC follows and the Big Ten as well. All right. The Amazon link's in the description section of all the videos. When you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. What I'd like to get to today is college football myths. There's got to be a zillion out there. I jotted down just 3. Maybe you could help me out on some of these. So I am not necessarily saying that these do not exist. I am simply saying that they've not been verified. Nobody that I've ever seen, and maybe the website is out there, the statistics, the metrics, the breakdown, the analysis to back up and confirm some college football myths, like when 2 rivals play, throw the records out. Just throw the records out the window. Really? How has this been ever verified? And then when there is an upset in a rivalry game, I think we saw that last November, an upset in a rivalry game or a severely close call of a game that wasn't supposed to be close. See, it's a rivalry game. You never know what's going to happen in a rivalry game. Oh, really? Can you really prove that? I don't believe so. I think the team with the best record wins rivalry games about the same amount of time as they win other games. And rivalry games are typically played at the end of the season. Of course, we've got rivalry week on Thanksgiving weekend, and that's when most of the famed rivalry games are played, but others throughout the season. Now, if somebody wants to do an exhaustive deep dive, I guarantee that you will find that the team that wins these rivalry games is about 80% of the time the team with the best record. And if they play early in the season, it's the team that's going to have the best record. So this whole, it's a rivalry game, throw out the records. No. You could throw out the records for Ohio State and Michigan in 2024. I'm not saying that that never happens, but nobody can prove to me, or has it been proven to me in all my years of watching college football, covering college football, that I've been presented with metrics that substantiate and confirm that rivalry games aren't just like any other games. Not saying it doesn't mean more, or that there aren't higher stakes or more bad blood or more intensity, more pride on the line. All of those things, absolutely. But I'm talking about sheer metrics of the game, that the winning team isn't just as predictable as it is for any other game. Take, again, Ohio State and Michigan. Michigan won a colossal upset in 2024. 23-point underdog, won the game. Throw out the records out the window, right? Throw the records out the window. Well, the three previous games were close point spreads. Michigan won all three, 2021, 22, 23. I believe they were a favorite in 23. They were a slight underdog. I wouldn't even call it an underdog. When it's under about 4 or 5 points, is that really an underdog? No, it's pretty much a toss-up. And I think Michigan might have been like a 2-point dog just because they were playing in Columbus in 22. And then in 2021, Ohio State was a 6-point favorite on the road. So that's a solid favorite. And they lost that game. But basically, you had two teams, all 3 seasons that were playing for a national championship, were a national championship contender, even with an undefeated record most of the time, or 10-1. Those were the records for Ohio State and Michigan all 3 years, 21, 22, 23. And by the way, our watch party's coming up for 2021. And yes, we finally pinned it down. Join us tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here at the Voice of College Football for our members only Ohio State, Michigan 2021 watch party. Buckeye fans, be here. I'm sure you will be delighted. Again, if you become a member either here on Patreon or on YouTube right here on the main channel, you can do that in about 3 clicks. And we're going to have a great time. We're going to do this once a month during the off season. The plan is to do it at least once a month. And I would like to do it, depending on your response, every week during the regular season, because we've got football games every weekend. Therefore, we can respond and react to and have a big watch party and a good time after the weekend when we pick out the best game. We can do that. We will take your calls. Most likely, if we get to them, I'm going to get to a lot of stuff here. So if somebody pops on the line and it's like a first-time caller, or it's been a long time since you've called, then I will take your call immediately. But for anybody else, I am going to get to your call, most likely, if we can make it by 5 o'clock Eastern Time. But we're going to get to a lot of other things here. And this is one of them. College football myths. Rivalry games throughout the records. And I kind of breezed through that Ohio State-Michigan example. And I really couldn't find, except for 2024, to go back to 2001. 2001, that there was an upset of significant proportion. So we went 23 straight years where, no, you don't throw out the records. You take the team that is favored heavily and they win the game. Or it's just a close call, like 2021, 22, 23. And we could go through various rivalries. I'm guessing we were going to find the same thing. If you look at most huge rivalries, most of them, not all of them, Florida State's close, Florida State, Miami's close, Miami, Florida, that triumvirate, they play close series. Other than that, Clemson is annihilating South Carolina. Alabama has a huge lead on Auburn, and on and on and on and on. There is usually a dominant team in the series, usually. Oklahoma, Texas, that's another hotly contested game where both sides have been dominant, and we're talking about 2 of the top 10 programs in the history of the game. All right, here's another one. Here's another myth of college football. Trap games. And anytime I bring this up, usually the respondent will say, and they will proceed to explain a trap game. I don't need an explanation. I know what a trap game is. I know what the concept is. I just don't know if they turn out to be trap games any more often than any game turns out to be a trap game. So basically, the trap game concept is that either Team A plays a big game, and then they play a big game 2 weeks later, and in between, you got that sandwich game trap game where they play a lesser team and therefore it's a trap. It's a trap. I understand the concept. I get the concept. I even understand the psychology. I'm not saying that it's irrational to think that there's a possibility of that happening. It has happened, I believe, where teams look ahead, players look ahead to a more difficult game, a perceived bigger game, more difficult opponent. I'm saying that somebody would have to statistically prove to me that this actually happens more often than upsets happen anyway. Or just simply, it doesn't have to be a 3-game sequence. It could simply be a 2-game sequence in which Team A's got a big game the next week and they may be looking ahead. Therefore, they got a trap game. Or maybe the trap game is possibly, this is less often, I think. You would have to educate me on the trap game philosophy, but the trap game could be after the big game as well, because they either are devastated by losing the big game and they're still down and out and got their heads in last week or somewhere else and they lose, or they're still celebrating and patting themselves on the back and then they get caught by the trap game. I understand the concept, and I do think that it is in play in the human psyche. Just statistically, nobody has ever displayed this, come up with a way to measure it and prove this. All right, the other one, if I can find this tweet that I posted here recently. So we heard it from Ohio State fans after the Texas game was announced for Fox on the big noon kickoff, noon Eastern time. And of course, before that, it was somewhat up in the air as to what was going to happen, where the game was going to be slotted, even though Fox plays its biggest games at noon Eastern and has for 8 years. Why people were going nuts about this, I really don't know. Now, if you're going to the game and you want the game to be played at a particular time, that's your argument. You like noon games or 3:30 games or primetime games or late night games because you like to be at the game and you like to prime yourself for the festivities throughout the day. Okay, that's being selfish. I get that. That's fine. You're being a fan. Or you got a honey-do list all day on Saturday and you can only watch the primetime game. Or you get that out of the way and you're able to watch the noon game, but then you got to go out on Saturday night. Whatever the case might be in your own personal schedule and personal life, I get that. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about those people that believe that there is something mystical and magical to playing night games. Okay, this doesn't prove anything. This is simply anecdotal, I believe is the word, anecdotal, on my part as well. So I'm not trying to prove anything, but I'm just basically letting Ohio State fans know in particular that if they're simply wanting to get the angle on winning the game, that's all they care about. They're not caring about their particular plans, but they're caring about winning the football game, that playing at night, there is nothing here that shows me or anyone else that playing at night gives you a bigger advantage. It's, again, it might be proven, but nobody has yet to do this. And I'm certainly not going to be the one. If somebody was to pay me like $100,000 to do some exhaustive research for decades, I'll do it. I would love to do it. But yeah, you would have to pay me for my time because, first of all, you'd have to put together a metric because obviously not every matchup's equal or even. So you would have to measure upsets versus how many upsets typically occur. So there's a typical number of upsets in college football throughout any season that I've got to think for top 25 games is something around 20% of the games, because that is something I have measured, is how many upsets are there among top 25 games from week to week? I have measured that in recent years, and there are typically about anywhere from 19 to 22 top 25 games because there are bye weeks and there are top 25 teams that play each other. So there would be 25 games, but when they play each other or have bye weeks, that reduces the games to like 19, 20, 21 games each week in the top 25. And you can almost mark it down. Play along with me this year. Go through the top 25 each week and mark down the number of upsets where the underdog won. It's about 4 or 5 a week, almost every week, like chalk. 4 or 5 a week. You can mark that down. Now, that gives you an edge in betting if you know that. So I've got that information. I've reviewed that for years and years and years. However, to go find which 4 or 5 out of those 20 games are going to be the upsets, that's a whole different deal. But at least you know there's going to be 4 or 5. You can look for them. All right. So in regards to the night game, again, I am not debating anybody's personal preference or schedule. So after I stated this the first time a month ago, 6 weeks ago, whenever this was hot and heavy and Ohio State fans were losing their minds over the game time announcement of this Texas matchup, I was simply saying, and they many times misconstrued it, I'm not trying to tell you what to think about a kickoff time. You have agency. You have free will. You can think whatever you want. You can proclaim it from the mountaintops. You can go on social media and cry and bellyache all you want. I support your right to do so. I'm just telling you, it's not logical. It's based on your own preference. It's not something that's been proven to be an advantage. And where I failed here is I forgot the USC series, but that only further proves my point here. So what we see here are Ohio State's big non-conference games. I left Cal out of it. No. These are night games. That's right. They played Cal in 2012 and 13, but they played them during the day. And Miami, they played in 2010 and 11, 3:30 games. So anyway, these are primetime games. Ohio State's big non-conference foe. And again, I did this in my head. Anytime I post something like this, you can almost guarantee that I just came up with it in my head. So I did forget about the USC series. 2008, 2009, the Buckeyes lost both games, one at home, one on the road. It just confirms the randomness of this. If you take the 11 games that Ohio State has played at night in non-conference play since 2005, the home team has won 2 and the road team has won 9 at night. So what you got here is Ohio State beat Notre Dame twice. They won at home and they won at Notre Dame. Ohio State won in Dallas, Texas against TCU. Oklahoma won at Ohio State. Ohio State won at Oklahoma. Virginia Tech, you know what? They won in Columbus. Ohio State won in Blacksburg. Guess what? Ohio State won in Austin. And Texas won in Columbus. And then again, USC beat Ohio State both years. And I'm not even serving this up as being any kind of confirmation or proof of anything. I'm just saying, see, in this particular case, either the road team has the advantage at night or most likely it just doesn't matter. Those Ohio State, Texas teams were very evenly matched. Ohio State was the much better team. Well, as it turned out, ironically, they were the much better team than Virginia Tech in 2014. It just took them a few weeks to figure it out, but they lost to Virginia Tech. And then, of course, they turned out to be the best team in the country. They beat Virginia Tech fairly easily in Blacksburg. Oklahoma, Ohio State, those 2 years, that was a very comparable matchup. Both years, you could argue either team was better. They were very, very close. Again, very close against Texas in 2005 and 2006, even though Texas had an all-time team because they won the Rose Bowl and the national championship. Ohio State was basically as good as they were. And in 2006, Ohio State went to the national championship game. Those teams were so close. Christopher, splitting hairs. I'm not splitting hairs. I don't think you understand that concept. Ohio State was much better than TCU in 2018. They won on the road, and Ohio State was decidedly better than Notre Dame. Not a ton better, but they were the better team. I don't think there's an argument out there, although we had it over and over and over and over and over. Thanks for checking, Will Indy. So I was running that through my head in regards to the second Ohio State-Miami game, 2011, at night in Coral Gables. I think that was an ESPN game. And so the home team won that game. So 9-3 for the road team. 9-3 for the road team. So there you go. So that is my next myth of college football would be night games. If you talk to an Iowa fan, you talk to an LSU fan, you talk to a Penn State fan, they just think that night games are the anecdote to everything, that they are unbeatable. Penn State fans would actually tell you that having a whiteout means something. And their record in whiteouts is pretty marginal. Not great. And again, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist. I'm just saying nobody's ever proven it. I don't even know that you can prove it. Nobody's even given it strong evidence. So those are my myths. Can you throw out a myth there concerning college football? That you can throw out the records in rivalry games, that there are trap games and they mean something, and that night games are an advantage. Anybody? Okay. The Amazon links in the description section of all the videos. When you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. Think of it this way. Let's say you spend $100 on Amazon. Just throwing out that number. $100 on Amazon. Amazon is worth $3 trillion. $3 trillion. The voice of college football, we are struggling to get to the billion mark. Struggling to get to the billion mark. It's not even close. So when you shop on Amazon, say you spend $100, you send $3, $4, $5 to the voice of college football. Even the scales, not really, but you get us closer there. So we do appreciate that. And it's the same shopping experience. It doesn't cost you a penny. So you can think, you know what? I just gave you spend $100 at Amazon and you send us $5. That's like sending like an $8 super chat. There you go. Without sending an $8 super chat. You can find the audio to all these fine shows. And why wouldn't you want to? You can find the audio on your favorite audio platform. The aforementioned Amazon, Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and some other ones I don't remember. On your favorite audio platform, if you cannot get us on YouTube for any particular reason. VOCFB.com is the website. VOCFB.com. While I'm going on and on and on about promos, why not tack on another one? This is the not for resale original draft or whatever it's called that was sent to me. So This thing's got to be worth. It sells for $9.99. I think this particular copy, since it's the first one that was sent to me, this is the one that verified when I contacted them back to say, okay, it looks good. It's all approved. Let's go forward. So this baby's got to be worth at least like $10.50. We've got a deal between the new Pac-12. Are they going to be a Pac-12? However many teams they have. They were a Pac-7 a few weeks ago. Then they added some. The Pac Conference, maybe they're keeping that a branding thing like the Big Ten. And CBS. This is basically just CBS signing and re-upping with the Mountain West. That's what the new Pac-12 is. It's basically the CBS Mountain West contract. I don't know how much we're going to see the Mountain West playing on actual CBS versus how much of that is going to get pushed off to CBS Sportsnet, or if CBS is going to take the tack that they've got the 3:30 Big Ten game. So why not show the Mountain West games at noon? It's going to be mighty early for those folks. That's probably not going to happen. They have done that, though. They have thrown Navy and Air Force, or not Navy because they're in the American Conference, Air Force and others on at noon Eastern. Made those boys play at 10 in the morning. Let me see this here. This comes from The Athletic. New look Pac-12 announces TV deal with CBS, but who will be its 8th football member? Yeah, we're still waiting for that. Pac-12 has moved one step closer to completing its rebuild, announcing Monday that CBS will be the primary TV partner. The news comes as the conference looks to finish its full TV deal and add an 8th football playing member to reach NCAA requirements by next season. The full TV deal is not yet complete, with at least 2 more media partners expected to fill out the plan. 2026 through 2031, the main CBS network will broadcast at least 3 regular season Pac-12 football games. Okay, that answered my question right there. They're not going heavy on the main CBS network. Only 3 games and the conference championship game. Don't be surprised if that's on a Friday night, along with at least 3 men's basketball games to the conference tournament championship game. Those will all be streamed on Paramount Plus. And the football championship game is expected to return to its Friday night slot. Thank you very much. The conference will also have a regular season presence on CBS Sports Network. Yes, that's going to be it. All right, we don't have full details. The CBS deal is technically an extension, as CBS will air 2 games this coming fall for Oregon State and Washington State as part of an agreement that also includes ESPN and CW. And of course, the new Pac-12 involves Oregon State, Washington State, Boise State, Colorado State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Utah State, and we don't care about Gonzaga. On the surface, that looks like the best of the group of 5s. Yeah, it does. With the TV deal nearing completion, the Pac-12 has been in conversation with schools for that 8th football playing spot. We've talked about Texas State, of course. That was the rumor last week from the Sun Belt. Them being the favorite, the mighty Bobcats of Texas State, according to people briefed on the process, but nothing has been finalized. For Texas State, that Sun Belt exit fee would jump from $5 million to $10 million. This deal can't be paying these schools much more than that. If the Big 12 and the ACC are sitting around 40 to 45 million per team, per school, although they've got less teams to distribute this money to, that's a good thing. They only divide it 8 times, let's say, instead of 16 or 17. While American athletic schools like Memphis, Tulane, and UTSA have been in the conversation, the exorbitant exit fee cost and valuable ESPN TV deal have kept them with the American. SMU paid an exit fee of more than $25 million to leave the AC for the ACC. But we know that SMU is kind of a special case. They really want to play big time football. They're willing to pay whatever, not make money. Just they're proud and they've got deep pockets. Less than 1 year's notice, and any of those schools would likely have to pay something similar. And then we delve into the history. And if you really want to delve into the history, boy, we were on this every day, all day, videos, live streams all over the place. And people eat this stuff up. So, yeah, the Pac 12 screwed itself with bad leadership. There is no question about that. The Pac 12 should still be in business, meaning the real Pac 12 should still be in business. Jackson, appreciate you. Shop Amazon using the link in the description section of the video. Don't need to buy the product displayed. That's just me with the inability to get it off the screen, basically. All right. So, yeah, the watch party tonight. If you become a member, either here or on Patreon, and since you're right here, you might as well just do that. But we'll have a good time watching Ohio State, Michigan. And a special thanks to Jackson, who obviously ventured off of the YouTube platform, because I just looked up Ohio State, Michigan 2021 full game, which I know that I've watched a few times on YouTube. And I went through 100 videos, could not find it, could only find highlights. And I did find one with a bunch of dudes sitting around a desk watching the game. So the game itself was only a third of the screen. So we didn't want that. So Jackson, thank you so much for finding that. And so everyone, members, you've got the link to the game. You've got the link to the live stream. So we're going to watch it, but you're also going to have to watch the game, because I cannot broadcast the game or YouTube will. Got to do the noise too. So that's the deal with the Pac-12 and possibly Texas State. Possibly Texas State. Do we have anything coming in here? Will ND, I selfishly like Big Noon. Big Noon at 12, Notre Dame at 3:30, NBC SEC at night on ESPN. I like that take. Will, thank you so much for being a member. Look at our buddy Will, big Irish fan. Will is one of the great supporters of the Voice of College Football. Just always here for us. Always a good word. Always a smile on his face. Just a good guy. Will, we appreciate you. Been a member for 23 months. Random preview of the day. But before we go to that, I will especially remind first-time callers that you can give me a ring and I will take the call immediately, or if it's been a long, long time. But I will get to the other calls as long as we can get there in time. Tukey G, good to see you. George liked the video. You know what? What in the world do we have on the bottom of the screen here? What in the hell is that? It's a bunch of, looks like a bunch of Nebraska nonsense. What's that doing on my show? What is going on? Good Lord. I thought we had better taste than that. Let's see if we can do something about that. There we go. That's much better. I didn't know what was scrolling down there. Yeah. All right. Random preview of the day. Karen's in the crowd. And you know what, Karen? This is for you. Our random team of the day is Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech. Let's tell you a little bit about the Hokies. It's a disappointing program. I got to say that. The real MVP, before we continue, he's got a myth about college football. This is one off the beaten path, but he believes that people think that there is more parity in college football today than there was a decade ago, and that's a myth. It's a smokescreen. If we would have had a 4-team playoff this last year, our 4 teams would have been they probably would have been, if the committee was going to take a tack that they were not going to penalize conference championship game losers, we probably would have had Oregon, Penn State, Georgia, and Texas. Virginia Tech was being hyped at this point last year. They had a ton of production coming back. Kyron Drones at quarterback, and they kind of fell flat on their face at 6-7. They had more production back and could not get the job done. Now, Brent Pry is 16-21 in 3 seasons. He should be better than that. 16-21. And really, Justin Fuente messed up this program. Frank Beamer, of course, is the guy. I don't know that there's a program in college football. Help me out here. I don't believe there's a program in the history of college football who has been successful and only successful under one coach. Kansas State's kind of close to this, but that is not the case because Chris Kleiman has done a fine job and is winning 70% of his games and won a conference championship a couple years ago. I am going to go out there and say that Virginia Tech is the only program in America that has been highly successful just under one coach and otherwise been mediocre since then, but before that, awful. So Frank Beamer takes over Virginia Tech in the late 80s, and by the mid 90s, they're a force. And they were a force for about 10 to 15 years. And then his last 5 years, they were good. They were fine. They were like fringe top 25 good. And then Justin Fuente comes in and he takes Frank Beamer's players and he goes to an ACC championship game, is competitive against Clemson. They go 9-4 the other year. They're 10-4, 9-4, Justin Fuente's first 2 years. And then the recruiting is awful. The roster right now is pretty bad. It's been pretty bad. And Brent Pry is now working on 4 seasons, and he's done really nothing to improve the situation. Again, they came into last year as kind of a chic pick because they went from 3 wins to 7. They won a bowl game. They had all this production back. People like Kyron Drones, he's exciting at quarterback, and they fell flat on their faces. And Drones was hurt some of 2024. He's back. 17 touchdowns, 3 picks the year before. Virginia Tech's lost all of its offensive line. All 5 starters gone. They lost their top 3 receivers. They lost their best running back, Bashul Tootin. He's off to the NFL. They bring in a back from Bowling Green, Terrion Stewart, who was an all-MAC performer. Ran for 900 yards, 6 yards per carry. and Donovan Green from Wake Forest, who has caught 102 passes at Wake. But I don't think that those two guys are going to get it done. I think I was a bit lenient on my Virginia Tech prediction. The more that really sinks in, I think it could be a rough year for the Hokies. Oh my, Tukey G. Is Adam contaminating the chat? Is that spreading? College football myth. Drew Aller is good. College football fact. 1984 BYU. I need to market some of these things. We would have a Drew Aller shirt now. We would have a 1984 BYU shirt at this point. The Drew Aller shirt, we'd have to come up with some kind of play. Drew Aller chokes t-shirt or something. And then, yeah, the 1984 BYU. Christopher, are you here? You're famous. We could get a shot of you, maybe your silhouette next to the BYU logo, which we would have to pay for, so we would have to alter it. They have to do something there. There was a guy, I don't remember his handle or his name, but he used to call. I don't know. He disappeared. This was a few years ago. This guy was really good at noticing things that I said over and over and over, that I repeated. And he liked some of those things. And he came up with some very insightful quotes for t-shirts. Said you need to send out a t-shirt. You need to, one was something about be a fan, just don't be a dumb fan. I think one was something like that. I guess I said this a number of times and he liked it. So he was pushing for t-shirts. Be a fan, just don't be a dumb one. Bud Foster was there for 29 years as defensive coordinator at Virginia Tech. Now they've had 3 DCs in 6 years. Their top 2 tacklers on defense are back, Caleb Woodson and Jaden Keller. They had 155 stops. The entire secondary is gone. But this is one of those situations where they're really not that good. So is it a plus or minus that these guys are gone? Well, at least they had experience and could get better possibly. And at least Virginia Tech's got a good place kicker in John Love, 16 of 18. Opening weekend. If you're not sure about kickoff, you're not sure about the date or the time or the location, check in with Jackson. It's opening weekend, week 1. Virginia takes on South Carolina in Atlanta. And that's a Sunday game. We get a Sunday doubleheader, people, on week 1. So you're not going to miss your NFL week 1 because you're going to have a college football doubleheader of South Carolina, Virginia Tech, and Notre Dame, Miami. Last season opener, Virginia Tech opened at Vandy as a 2-touchdown favorite. Went down. No Clemson on the schedule for Virginia Tech. No SMU. Maybe the 2 best teams in the league. Their November, this is the most difficult stretch they've got. Louisville, Miami, at Florida State. But the rest of these games basically are toss-ups. That's been the ACC for the last 15 years. 80% of the games are toss-ups. Now the Big 12, 90% of the games are toss-ups. So yeah, I was thinking 6-6. I'm thinking less than that now. Sorry, Karen. At least you've got Mississippi State. Oh, maybe not. Christopher is here. Say it ain't so. letting us know that the Michigan running backs coach is from Colorado State, but he also coached at Ohio State, Mr. Tony Alford. There he is. Yes. And yes. Whoa, Nelly! Look at Mr. Keith Jackson. Don't get him confused with me. Keith Jackson, the voice of college football. The voice of college football. That's like from a pipes standpoint, the actual voice. Voice, college football. Mine's more like opinion, meaning voice, having a voice. You have a voice, I got a voice. We are the voice of college football. Yes. Tony Alford, previous to Ohio State, Will is telling us, was at Notre Dame. I'm sure I knew that at the time. Oh, I like this. Oh, Nelly, college football once an 84 BYU shirt with the betting lines versus Florida, Oklahoma, and Washington. Tremendous. Let's go to the phone lines. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. We've got Dan on the line.
Good afternoon, Mark. How are you doing, good sir?
I am doing just fine. I hope you're doing well.
Well, I got back from Florida about 1 o'clock this morning on a vacation trip and slept for a couple hours. Then I woke up at like 7 o'clock in the morning and got breakfast and had some coffee and took care of some other business. But other than that, I'm doing all right.
All right. It's good to know the agenda.
Talking college football myths. In my opinion, some college football myths are interesting, and some of them I find to be a little crazy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Just in like the way that people context them. But since people want to talk about the Ohio State Michigan, myth about throwing out all the records.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest. Let's not throw out the record, the all-time record or any record on that rivalry, because that is one of the most historic rivalries in college football, and also one of the most bloody, unforgiving, but also one of the most hateful rivals in college football.
Yes, my advice is not to throw out the game results. I'm talking about the cliche that you can throw out the records when anticipating who's going to win the game.
Okay, well, I thought you meant on the. I kind of figured you meant that, but I thought you meant it the other way around. But sorry.
No problem.
But it's like, okay, well, understand Ohio State, Michigan, one of the most bloody, unforgiving, and just hateful rivals in college football. I mean, that's always been, well, the couple years that it was close. But then, the one year that it kind of went downhill, yeah, that's kind of where, like, the rivalry's at now. And then, we played them up in Ann Arbor this year after all their, penalties and stuff, which I think that this is the year Ohio State gets some 5-year revenge on Michigan after losing to them for the 5 years straight in a row that we did.
That would only be 4, so you don't have to give them 5 yet.
Right, but also the record, our record against Texas, okay, it isn't impressive, but I will say at least Texas is an evenly matched team compared to Ohio State. We're both evenly matched on offense and defense. But if I were to say which team is a little bit better than Texas, but at least looks a little bit better, like Ohio State defensively wise, then that's Georgia. Just in my opinion, from the 21-22 season.
Okay. So
now that's just my opinion, Mark. But but like I said, that's just my opinion.
So you're talking about the best teams you've ever seen?
I'm talking about like best defenses I've seen, like best defensive teams, like Georgia 21-22, That one, in my opinion, of Georgia was one of the most dominant. And I think anybody that's a Georgia fan can agree. Now, Ohio State defense currently is similar to the 21-22 Georgia team. Dominant, but you also got a lot of I feel like it's where the particular scenario. Okay, Georgia won national championship, lost 15 starters to the NFL. Okay, and then Georgia exploded the first game of the season. That was against Oregon. They blew them out 49-3. I feel like we could do that against Texas. In my opinion, we could blow out Texas in week 1 with freshmen, and we could win them out. We could win that game out big time.
So is this a prediction? Do we put you on record for this?
I didn't put you on the record if you like, but that's just my opinion. I mean, we've lost like what, 8 starters, 9 people to the NFL draft. What, 9? But in my opinion, I feel like we're gonna explode in that, like out and beat Texas big time in the horseshoe this year. But also, last week I stated that the Ohio State's defense was going to sack Arch Manning at least 12 times. Yeah, put that on the record as well. And at least put on the record, too, I said Arch Manning is going to get hit at least 15 times by Ohio State's defense when they blitz them so much. Because then after that, he's going to be sore for 2 weeks.
All right. We're going to ask the chat to keep track of that. Arch Manning sacked 12 times against Ohio State.
And he's going to get hit 15 times by Ohio State defense. A season high by Ohio State 15 times.
If Ohio State gets 5 sacks in that game, that would be a strong effort.
But it doesn't hurt to go the extra mile, Mark, when you really want to send a message in a game. And that's speaking from somebody who's played high school football.
Yes. If absolutely, from somebody who's played high school football, yes. That.
And I mean, I played high school football in the middle of nowhere in the state of Ohio, and we're just a D2 school that just played random teams from Columbus. They come into our house, and then we beat them by 45. And and our defense sacked the guy at least 9 times between 4 of us, or not even 3 of us, guys. So I mean, it's not impossible.
I'm failing to understand the relation between your prowess on the high school football field in Central Ohio somewhere and Arch Manning against the Ohio State defensive pass rush.
My bottom line, Mark, is it's not impossible to sack a quarterback more than 5 times in a game. It's not impossible. That's the bottom line I'm trying to put out. In Ohio State defense this year against Texas is going to sack Arch Manning more than 5 times. And like I said, on the record, Ohio State's defense is going to sack Arch Manning 12 times.
Okay. All right.
And they're going to hit him 15 times.
I only know of 3 predictions that you have made on my show, and they all concerned Ohio State beating Oregon, Penn State, and Michigan by 50 points.
Okay, I may have bad records and bad luck, but bad record luck. But you know what? I'll take my chances.
Well, Dan,
even if I got
the call.
Hell, I'll even throw 2 organs out of my own body just to throw it out for the record.
Well, you enjoy yourself today, Dan. We appreciate the call.
See you later, Mark, and go Bucks.
Okay. Yes, might as well go for 14 sacks, Levi. Levi in the Iowa State show is coming up here Tuesday at 8 Eastern. I hope I've got that right. 8 Eastern, 7 Central, where it counts there in the state of Iowa. Cyclones football talk with Levi. And that's, of course, on the Iowa State channel. Minnie, I tried not to hear that. And so, yes, he's going to lose 2 organs if Ohio State doesn't get 12 sacks, I guess. So when he threw that out a couple of weeks ago, I offered a friendly little wager, but man, he wants to go full throttle on this to back this here. Christopher letting us know that the Michigan pass defense wasn't half bad in 1984. What other college football show would you get in the middle of June 2025 that would confirm for you that the Michigan pass defense in 1984 wasn't half bad? It's remarkable. All right. Today we've given you a look at Virginia Tech football. I know you couldn't wait for that. You were thinking when you jumped on the live stream today, I hope Mark talks about Virginia Tech. I hope he gives Virginia Tech a good 10 or 15 minutes. And I did. And of course, we talked about our myths of college football. I could come up with 3. The real MVP came up with 1. That would be a myth about there being more parity in college football today, 2024. 25. Let me get my year straight. 2025 rather than a decade ago. To me, again, I'm not saying that these things do not exist to some extent. I'm just saying that nobody has ever laid out. I would love to read an exhaustive analysis that would show me that rivalry games are closer than other games, meaning you can just throw out the record. I don't believe so. Also, I would like somebody to prove the theory of trap games. I understand the concept. I don't necessarily know. I do know that when they are executed, that the trap game does become an upset, that people say, hey, see, look, it was a trap game. And then again, night games. That you have a bigger advantage playing at home at night than you do during the day. It could be. But somebody would really have to think this through to put parameters on this, because you got to take into consideration how good the 2 teams are. And obviously, it would be a much easier analysis if everybody was exactly the same all the time. If the 2 teams were evenly matched and you could clearly say, oh, Iowa played 10 teams that were evenly matched against them, and they won 9 of the 10 games at home at night. So that's obviously been a huge impact on the game. But obviously, it's just so fluid to try to get a handle on that. You would have to measure records and then early season games when a team's 1-0 and the other team's 1-0 would be difficult to measure. Yeah. I'm not saying it would be easy, but those are my 3 myths. Those are my 3 myths. And it appears as though Texas State is going to be part of the Mountain West and part of this CBS deal that is going to grant all of 3 games from the Mountain West in 2026 and beyond to the main network. So CBS Sportsnet, fire it up. Every year, I got to think that at some point it crosses my mind, just days leading into the college football season. Do I have CBS Sportsnet? Man, I got to have that. CBS Sportsnet. I got to catch those Air Force Colorado State games on CBS Sportsnet. But when it comes right down to it, there might be one time all season that I think I'm flipping around, I'm looking at the scoreboard online and thinking, wow, there are really no games. Everybody's in the 4th quarter right now, and there's just lousy games. Oh, wow. Look, Hawaii leads New Mexico, 38-35 with 3 minutes left. Let me go check that out. Like once a year. So my paranoia and my desire to get CBS Sportsnet just a few weeks leading into the season is often overstated. Well, Levi, I understand that a team does not have to actually fall victim to the trap game for it to be considered a trap game. I don't know if you were around when I stated what my definition of a trap game is. It's clearly just good team playing good team, and then prior to playing good team, playing bad team, or good team playing good team, bad team, trap game, good team. One of those two scenarios. Or you could also go for good team playing good team and then bad game or bad team the next weekend. That's more of a letdown. That would be a letdown game. Again, it's not been proven to me that this actually takes place more often than just good teams losing to bad teams. Case in point, Levi's saying Iowa State, they've got the week 0 game in Ireland against Kansas State, obviously a big game for them and the conference. They go from that to playing a really good FCS team, then Iowa at home. Trap game. It would not be hard to lose focus versus South Dakota. I totally understand the concept, and I also don't completely dismiss it. The psychology of being a human. Absolutely. I just have never seen anybody prove it. Okay, I've never seen anyone actually go through the work of saying, you know what? This is a theory that most of us believe in to some degree because it makes sense in terms of how we function as humans. But I'm going to either prove it or disprove it or attempt to. So I'm going to map it all out and let you know, okay, we looked at the Power 5 conferences for 5 years and we looked at all the matchups and we defined a trap game as such. And we either gave strong evidence toward trap games being more impactful, more obvious, more of a legitimate concern for the good team, for the favorite, than any other situation in which they would have played that team. Wonelli cites the South Carolina upset of Alabama in 2010. I immediately knew they'd lose their next game, not even knowing who it was. Tiger Stadium, LSU. So you simply couldn't say, let's look at all the LSU day games at home and all the LSU night games at home and look at the record. More than likely, LSU has played better teams at night, probably, although, and what do you consider a 3:30 in the afternoon game or 2:30 Central Time? So is that a day game or a night game? It's basically a day game, but once you hit 3:30 Eastern Time and they end at 7:30, it almost feels like a night game. So a lot there to dissect. All right, folks, it's been fun, but I hate to admit it, probably not quite as fun as tonight's Ohio State-Michigan watch party, or I'm sorry, Michigan fans, we will give you first billing Michigan-Ohio State watch party since the Wolverines did win this game. to win the Big Ten championship and beat Ohio State for the first time in 8 years. And I would argue, I said this last week at some point and had a lot of Michigan fans give me some recognition, but also debated that it could be argued as the most important game in the history of the school. 2021 Michigan and Ohio State, the watch party. You can get the link, members. I have placed it a few different places. It's in the post on the community page on this channel. It's also on Patreon. So you can grab the link to the stream that we'll be watching. Then also just open up another tab, watch the game. I will consistently let everyone know where we are in the game. So if you arrive late, you can just, and we can all watch it together. A little archaic, but that's what we got because we cannot get kicked off of YouTube. Or I sometimes think if I did get kicked off of YouTube, that would make my decisions in life much easier. But we will not tempt fate, as they would say. Is that another myth? Tempting fate? There's one. Tempting fate. Okay. We will be back on Tuesday. I believe Leanne Herring is going to stop by with a recruiting update. Recruiting coup. She would probably be highly upset if she knew I left that out. The recruiting or I messed it up. Recruiting coup. That's what it is. It's a recruiting coup. I need to spend more time in Texas, apparently. So that's coming up on Tuesday. I need to get back to the all-time rankings. I've got all the numbers. I just need to make some graphics, present those. We have presented the Big 12. And again, doesn't meet my satisfaction of really sizing up the Big 12's history because of the Oklahoma-Texas factor and then all these teams moving in and out. But it is a collection of numbers in 15 different categories ranking the current Big 12 programs against each other. So check out the video. We also did a live stream. We will do the same with the ACC, the Big 10, and the SEC. We got Big 10, Big 12, and SEC, and of course, ACC Media Days coming up in the next month. We will see how we will diligently cover those. And again, the watch party's tonight at 9 Eastern. I'll be back here at 4 Eastern on Tuesday. And we appreciate you being here at the Voice of College Football. Join us for the watch party.